So hello everybody, this is Dorothy Stewart and
I'm Jake Farrell.
we're just going to give you a demonstration of the labs that can be incorporated in your exceptional science class. And so the one that we're starting with here today is the rock cycle. Having taught your children all about it, maybe even done some assessments along the way, you're going to have material set up at the stations in your lab. You're going to make sure that you would have gone over heat safety rules first, and that students are well aware of what to do in the event of an occurrence in the lab. Hopefully that won't happen. So you're going to have in front of them their hot plate. Maybe have it on at a time just a few minutes early while you're doing your introduction and the students are already in the lab, giving them some time to heat up. Aluminum foil for placement of the crayons that you're going to shave later. You need some protection for the hand. You need some means of shaving it, so we have a plastic knife. I also want to say that if you're thinking about using a pencil sharpener to get the shavings, which represents sediments, and then going through the different phases or cycles to produce different types of rock, then you want to make sure that the opener on your pencil sharpener is large enough. We did try that and ran into a problem because the crayon would sharpen, but not as well as we needed it to, and it was very time consuming. And so then we went to the pencil sharpener, that didn't work as well, so we found that the best thing to do to get shavings from the crayons would be to use a knife.
Yep.
Okay?
You also have your rock cycle rubric that you'd want to give the students, and this is where they're going to record the information about what they are doing, and also the event that's occurring scientifically, those terms. And then also they'll want to have their target concept for the rock cycle out, so that they know what terms they're supposed to be using and so forth, and what they're supposed to be demonstrating. So the first step of this rock cycle, this is completely discovery for discovery for the students. There's no set direction to say this is what you're supposed to be doing. So they have their materials and they have to figure out, okay, how am I going to show sediments, sedimentary rock, metamorphic rock, magma, and igneous rock. And so we're going to just start off by saying, okay, well, we're going to start with sediments. And so to demonstrate sediments, we're going to take our crayon and we're going to create just these shavings. And so as we create these shavings, and we're going to put them onto the aluminum foil here. So to create the shavings, what I would write down on my sheet is I would say, okay, to create the shavings, we took the knife and we shaved off parts of the crayon or something like that. We described what we did to create the sediments, and then we would say the process that it represents is weathering and erosion. Now, on the rubric, whenever you do this, whenever you score it, it says sediments, and then it says 0, 1, or 2 on how you would score it. And 0 is that they could neither describe how they created the sediments or the scientific process that creates sediments. A 1 would be describing how they could either describe how they created the sediments, but they couldn't describe the scientific process, or vice versa. And then a 2, where they get full credit, is if they describe both how they created the sediments and the scientific process that represents that. And so Dorothy's done a great job at creating her sediments here.
Okay, so once the sediments have been shaved from the crayons, so the students will need to demonstrate how these sediments are having been weathered, been compacted. So you will be looking for a special vocabulary like compacted or cemented together. And so to represent that or to do that, they're going to just fold over their aluminum foil.
They could do that, or they could
Yeah, or they can
have.
press it, yeah. Depending on how.
So the sediments was the weathering and erosion. We already showed that. Now we're creating, what are we creating here?
The rocks themselves being compressed into sedimentary rock.
And it's stuck to our tin foil here.
It might be that they need a little bit more for shavings.
But here you go. It's not a massive rock here that we've created, but you can see that we've taken our sediments, we've compressed and cemented them together to create our sedimentary rock.
And from there, they can apply heat and pressure to change it from sedimentary rock into metamorphic rock. And this is where you would use your hot plate and place the aluminum foil on the hot plate, which is already heated. And from there, you're going to see that the sedimentary rock begins to melt.
Now you don't want it to melt all the way because melting is actually the creation of magma. So with a metamorphic rock, you just want it to heat enough. You just want to get a little bit of heat in there, and then you want to apply pressure again. So you heat it up, you get it warm, you apply pressure to it, and what you're going to get and what you'll notice is that on this rock right here, it kind of has a smoother bottom to it, but it hasn't all turned one color because it hasn't completely melted. It still has these spots in it and everything like that, where it has a different color from the different crayons that we've heated and pressed, put them under pressure together, but not completely melted.
So to go on to the third type of rock, which is igneous rock, students would need to make sure that they completely melt and then allow it to cool. So you want to make sure that they're using those action terms of what's actually happening to the rock. The sedimentary rock was compressed or cemented together, and that the metamorphic rock had to undergo heat and pressure. And then lastly, the igneous rock has to completely heat, and then it has to cool.
Yep. And so they'll note on here, on their rock cycle rubric, it talks about magma. And so they're going to talk about the process of creating magma. So they're going to say, we placed it on the hot plate to melt our crayons. And so melting is the key word, the key scientific word. And then what they did was the action that they took place in. And you can see it has now completely melted. And so that's created our magma. And now to create our igneous rock, we have to remove it. It's aluminum foil. It should be cool to the touch on the ends, but we have the hot hands just in case there on the ends. We can set it off to the side. And now to create that igneous rock, it has to cool completely in order to create the igneous rock. And once again, we didn't have a whole lot of pencil shavings, so our rocks aren't like these massive rocks. It depends on how much time your students want to take on the pencil shavings, and that will affect the time that they have to leave it on the hot plate and everything like that. We were able to do this lab rather quickly because we knew beforehand, okay, this is what we're going to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think a student who is having to do this through inquiry is probably going to take quite a bit more time than what we have.
That and plus they have to do the writing portion too. If you give them enough time and then just monitor them, they should be able to complete the lab within one setting.
Yes.
Because otherwise, you'd have to start over again, or at least have the discussion part and the writing in the classroom on another day. I really wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't have it all done in one day.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you can see our final product, our final rock here, it's kind of crumbles because we didn't have a lot of shavings. But you can see our final rocks right here. They're all kind of one color now. They've all melted together, and that's our igneous rock. So, and cleanup's real easy. Some modifications that you can make to this lab that might make it a little bit tastier is using chocolates. Now you probably want to take chocolates into the lab. If my students are going to eat anything, I always make sure I do it in the classroom. But you can use different chocolates and other creative things.
Sounds good. Yes.